There is a place on this planet where the wind moves faster than a speeding car, where the cold doesn't just hurt, it kills fast, where the nearest human being could be hundreds of kilometers away and nobody is coming to help you. It has no government, no military, not a single permanent resident. And right now, it is quietly becoming one of the most strategically contested pieces of land on Earth. We're talking about Antarctica, not the Arctic, not Greenland, the actual bottom of the world, a continent so extreme, so alien, that for most of history, humans refused to believe it was even real. The United States is there, China is there, Russia is there. They are spending billions, building infrastructure, training personnel, mapping every inch of coastline for a frozen wasteland that nobody officially owns. There's a reason for that. And once you understand it, the world starts to look very different. Let's be honest. Most people know almost nothing about Antarctica beyond it's cold and penguins live there, which is fine. Until you realize how much is actually sitting underneath all that ice. So, here's your crash course. Pay attention, because these numbers matter. Antarctica isn't just big. It's absurdly, almost offensively big. 14 million square kilometers, larger than Europe, larger than Australia. In winter, sea ice pushes that number even higher, effectively doubling the whole footprint. You could drop the entire United States onto it and still have space left over for a few extra countries. But size is honestly the least interesting thing about this place. Antarctica holds 90% of all the ice on Earth. Not some of it, not most of it. 9 out of 10 parts. The other 7 continents combined don't come close. Trapped inside, that ice is 70% of the planet's entire freshwater supply. Locked in sheets so thick, in some places, they go nearly 5 kilometers straight down. The coldest temperature ever recorded on Earth happened right here, minus 89.2 degrees Celsius. For reference, that's colder than Mars, the actual surface of Mars, on a warm day. And in all of human history, every civilization, every era, every century, not a single person has ever permanently lived here. Not one. For most of human history, people didn't even know it existed. The ancient Greeks suspected there was something down there. They called it Terra Australis Incognita, the unknown southern land. But it was just a theory, a guess. Nobody had seen it, nobody had touched it, and frankly, nobody was rushing to find out. The first confirmed sighting didn't happen until 1820. It took nearly another century before anyone actually set foot on it. And the race to reach the South Pole, one of the most brutal, punishing expeditions in all of exploration history, didn't play out until 1911. Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen got there first. Britain's Robert Falcon Scott arrived 5 weeks later. Scott never made it home. Neither did any of his men. The continent just took them, the way it takes everything that walks in, underestimating it. Before anyone cared about oil or rare earth minerals, nations were fighting over Antarctica for something far more primal: flags. In the decades before World War II, 7 countries sliced the continent up like a pie, each drawing wedge-shaped sectors on a map. The UK, Australia, France, New Zealand, Norway, Argentina, Chile. Together, they claimed 83% of the landmass. The only problem? None of those claims meant anything. No enforcement, no courts, just lines on paper. Meanwhile, the US and Soviet Union made a calculated move. They refused to recognize any claims and refused to make any of their own. It sounds like restraint. It was strategy. Keep all options open. Operate anywhere. Acknowledge nobody. By the late 1950s, the scramble was becoming a genuine flashpoint. Something had to give. December 1959. The Cold War was at its peak. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a nuclear standoff. Missiles were pointed across the globe. Suspicion was everywhere. And yet, in the middle of all that tension, something unexpected happened. 12 nations came together and signed one of the most extraordinary agreements in modern history. Instead of fighting over Antarctica, they agreed to pause the competition altogether. The Antarctic Treaty didn't decide who owned the continent. It did something much more unusual. It froze every territorial claim in place. No country gained new territory. No country lost what it claimed. The entire dispute was simply set aside. Then the treaty went even further. Military activity was banned. Nuclear weapons were banned. Scientific research was encouraged. And discoveries made in Antarctica had to be shared openly with the rest of the world. For once, a strategically valuable piece of territory wasn't turned into a battlefield. It became a laboratory. Over time, more countries joined. Today, 56 nations are part of the treaty system. Because of that cooperation, scientists have drilled deep into Antarctica's ice sheets and recovered tiny bubbles of ancient air, trapped for hundreds of thousands of years. Those samples have helped us understand Earth's climate history better than ever before. In many ways, Antarctica became proof that countries could work together, even when they disagreed on almost everything else. It's one of humanity's rare success stories, but every agreement has limits. And today, those limits are starting to face pressure they were never designed to handle. At first glance, Antarctica doesn't look like a place anyone would fight over. It's cold, remote, almost completely covered in ice. But beneath that ice may lie one of the largest untapped resource reserves left on Earth. Geological surveys suggest the continent could hold vast deposits of oil, natural gas, coal, and valuable minerals, including rare earth elements that power everything from electric vehicles and smartphones to advanced military technology. For now, none of it can be touched. Under the 1991 Madrid Protocol, Antarctica is protected as a natural reserve. No mining, no drilling, no commercial resource extraction. But there is one date that keeps appearing in policy papers and long-term strategic plans: 2048. That's when the protocol's review mechanism becomes available, opening the possibility, however difficult, that the rules could one day change. And that's exactly why what happens today matters. Because if Antarctica's future is ever debated, influence won't belong to the countries that show up at the last minute. It will belong to the countries that are already there. China has rapidly expanded its Antarctic presence over the last decade, building new stations and investing heavily in polar infrastructure. Russia continues to maintain one of the strongest polar capabilities in the world, backed by a fleet of powerful icebreakers developed over generations. And the United States still operates the continent's largest facilities, maintaining a presence that stretches from the Antarctic Peninsula to the South Pole itself. Officially, all of these activities are focused on science, and much of that work is genuinely scientific. But in geopolitics, infrastructure is never just infrastructure. Research stations create presence. Presence creates influence. And influence matters when the future rules of the game are being discussed. No country is openly racing for Antarctica. Not yet. But when three superpowers continue expanding their footprint on the same frozen continent, it's difficult to believe they're only planning for the present. The race may not have officially started, but the starting positions are already being taken. Antarctica is melting, not slowly, not gradually, faster than many scientists expected. The West Antarctic ice sheet is now considered by many researchers to be in irreversible decline. And then there's Thwaites Glacier, better known as the Doomsday Glacier, a massive wall of ice that could eventually raise global sea levels by several meters, putting coastal cities from Miami to Mumbai at risk. But hidden inside this climate crisis is a paradox, because as Antarctica loses ice, it becomes easier to reach. Sea routes that were once locked shut for most of the year are beginning to open. Coastlines that spent centuries hidden behind ice are becoming accessible. And beneath the frozen surface lies something that has always attracted human attention: resources. For decades, Antarctica's vast reserves of minerals, energy, and strategic resources have remained largely untouched. Not because they aren't valuable, but because they were too difficult, too expensive, and politically impossible to reach. Now, that equation is changing. The same melting ice that threatens coastlines around the world is also removing one of the greatest barriers protecting Antarctica from exploitation. And that raises a question the world has been able to avoid for years. If Antarctica becomes easier to exploit, will nations still choose not to? Remember one date: 2048. That's when a key review clause of the Antarctic Treaty System comes into focus, opening the door for the international community to reconsider whether Antarctica's resources should remain off-limits indefinitely. And if you look at what's happening today, some countries appear to be preparing for that conversation already. The race isn't being fought with armies. It's being fought with research stations, icebreakers, logistics networks, and geological surveys. Because in Antarctica, presence matters. The more infrastructure you have on the continent, the more influence you may carry when future negotiations begin. So where does this lead? There are three possible futures. The first is the optimistic one. The treaty holds, the protections remain, scientific cooperation continues, and Antarctica stays what it was always meant to be: a continent dedicated not to any single nation, but to humanity as a whole. The second is far less comforting. The restrictions fall, mining begins, corporations move in, and the last great wilderness on Earth becomes another chapter in humanity's long history of resource extraction. The environmental consequences would be enormous and irreversible. But the third possibility may be the most realistic, not because the treaty collapses, but because it slowly weakens. Competition grows, trust erodes, cooperation remains on paper, while behind the scenes, nations quietly position themselves for whatever comes next. No dramatic confrontation, no official ending, just a gradual shift in priorities. People often call Antarctica the last untouched continent. But that description is becoming harder to defend. Because what truly protects Antarctica today isn't the ice. It's an agreement, a rare global decision that some places are more valuable preserved than exploited. And for now, the world is still choosing to honor that decision. For now.